The Maelstrom Hunter by Crimson QB Sage, Chapter 28, TMH Holiday Special 2014. Beacon Academy, play sleigh ride. The sky was partially cloudy, specks of white snow, each with its own unique crystalline pattern, danced through the air. Wow! Ruby exclaimed in excitement, watching the snow fall to the ground. For once, your childish is reasonable, Weiss stated, a smile on her face as she watched the snow fall as well. Yeah, hey! Ruby said, then so finding its way to the comprehension seconds later. Come on, Blake. Why so cold? Yang asked, the entire area going quiet as the sound of crickets chirp permeated the snow-streaked land, only to be hit on the head by a snowball. Boo! Yang! Boo! Roshi exclaimed, tossing another snowball at Yang. The latter in return grabbing a snowball and throwing it at Roshi. She missed and instead hit Weiss, who in turn grew furious and threw a snowball at Yang, only to miss and hit Blake instead, who in turn threw a snowball at Weiss, but missed and hit Ruby instead. She in turn threw a snowball at laughing Roshi, only to miss and hit Han. Oh, it is on! Han exclaimed, grabbing a pile of snow and forming it onto a large snowball and chucking it at Ruby, only for said girl to dodge and let the snowball hit her boyfriend, Naruto. Surprisingly, Naruto's fox ears and tail had changed color with the season, becoming white in color. It's on like Donkey Kong, Naruto exclaimed, forming a familiar T-shaped hand sign. Kakebunshi no Jutsu, he yelled, forming a dozen clones, half of which formed snowballs and threw them at the others, while the other half built up a snow fortress. It was then that this snowball fight got more intense. Naruto, Ruby, Blake, and Yang were on one side, while Roshi, Weiss, Han, and Fu were on the other side. My fellow snowballers, here we make our final stand. Here is where we stop the Weiss menace. Together we will stop them, Naruto exclaimed in a heroic pose atop a pile of snow as snowballs flew by him. For the log! At this, the three huntsmen in training let out a battle cry. Today is the day we defeat the threat that is the Naruto Alliance. I will not lie, snow will be shed. Some of us may not make it out without being covered in snow, but the hot chocolate is on me, Weiss exclaimed in a similar manner to Naruto's war speech. For the hot chocolate! Like with the rest of Naruto's team, Weiss's team let out a battle cry before charging forward. It was then and there that the snowy battle took place. Snow truly was shed. As Weiss had predicted, Naruto rolled under a barrage of snowballs before hurling snowballs of his own back, hitting Han square in the chest, face, and arms. Fu was flying high up and throwing snowballs from above, quite a few hitting Blake atop her head and shoulders. Yang and Roshi were exchanging shots from behind cover, neither one landing a hit on the other from either snowballs. Weiss had somehow found a large branch and was using it like she would Merton Esther, summoning glyphs that shot barrages of snowballs at Ruby, the latter using her own semblance to dodge the onslaught and throw snowballs in between the barrages. Naruto was about to throw another snowball at Roshi, but was hit in the back by a barrage of snowballs, the same happening to Roshi, Han, Fu, Blake, Yan, Ruby, and Weiss. The 8 students looked up to see the grinning faces of Team Juniper, Pyrrha, gingerly tossing a snowball up and down in her right hand while her left rested on her hip. Ren held 2 snowballs in his hand and got into a fighting pose. Nora held an enormous snowball with both her hands while it rested on her shoulder, and John held a snowball at throwing position. Naruto and the others shared a look before it turned into a grin, the unspoken truce being agreed upon. Moments later, Naruto, Roshi, Blake, and Han began tossing snowballs at Team Marshfield. Scatter! John exclaimed, the rest of his team doing so, taking cover behind trees and a bench before returning fire. Ruby and Weiss worked in tandem, Ruby using her speed to distract Ren, while Weiss used her glyph to summon barrages of snowballs that slammed against said team member of Juniper. Han formed a large snowball and threw it at John, the latter dodging with a roll and tossing a snowball at the former. Fu used her insect wings to dodge snowballs that Nora threw at her, throwing a few snowballs in return at the crazy orange-haired girl when she could. Roshi, Blake, Han, and Naruto were now focusing their snowball throwing efforts at Pyrrha, who in return threw snowballs at the 4, hitting Roshi, Blake, and Han square in the forehead and making them fall back in the snow. Naruto charged forward, 2 snowballs in his hands at Pyrrha, the latter doing the same. Both had grins on their faces as they met halfway, and thus a dance had begun. Pyrrha and Naruto ducked and weaved in and out of the snowballs that each held in their hands, Naruto eventually breaking the close combat by jumping back and throwing the 2 snowballs at Pyrrha. Said red-haired girl threw her own snowballs with such accuracy that all 4 snowballs collided with enough force to stop their mid-air motion. Now! Naruto exclaimed, Roshi, Blake, and Yang popping up from the snow and tossed snowballs at a rapid pace at Pyrrha, who could do nothing but put up her arms to brace herself for the incoming barrage. With Aspen and Glinda, play Silent Night. A sigh escaped Osmond's lips, forming a mist against the glass window that he stared out of. A pair of gentle hands on his shoulders broke him out of his trance as he knew who was behind him. Thinking about the rest of the team again, John? Glinda questioned, though she already knew the answer to her question. Was there more we could have done? Would things turn out like they did? Osmond said. Maybe. I don't know, Glinda said, using her hands to turn Osmond around so that he faced her. But what's done is done, and all we can do is make sure that something like that never happens again, she stated. Osmond and Glinda had looked up, a small blush popping up on both their faces as they saw a familiar plant hanging above them. We're under the mistletoe, Osmond said as he stared into Glinda's eyes. Neither one knew who initiated the kiss. Only the sensation that followed afterwards filled them with a small flame that had once been ablaze. Merry Christmas, John, Glinda said. Merry Christmas, Glinda, Osmond replied. The two staying in their embrace as they stared out down at the campus. With Team Ruby, Team Juniper, and Team Marshfiend, the 12 huntsmen in training all flopped down in the snow, forming a circular pattern as laughter flew freely from their lips, the crisp air making their breath visible. So, what do you guys have planned for the winter break? Naruto asked after the laughter died down. Well, I plan to introduce Roshi to my family over the break, Wai stated. Han and Fu are accompanying us as well. Me and Ren are going back home to celebrate Hanukkah, Nora exclaimed, grabbing Ren's hand as she spoke. We still haven't told them we're dating, Ren said, slightly nervous at the thought of telling Nora's family the news. I'm going with Pyrrha to meet her family, like Weiss and Roshi are with hers, John stated, a hint of timidity to his voice as he spoke. Me and Yang are going to spend Christmas with our dad, Ruby said. What about you, Naruto? What plans do you have for the holidays? I've managed to work out a deal with the Shinigami to spend the holidays with my family without dying, Naruto stated. You managed to work out a deal with the Death God? Roshi questioned him. Well, technically, there's more than one Shinigami, Naruto said. But yeah, how? Fu asked. We Uzumaki have always had a particular relationship with the Death God, Naruto replied. Did anyone actually pack for the trip yet? Han questioned, causing everyone to freeze up. I gotta go pack, everyone exclaimed, simultaneously jumping out of the snow and dashing off towards the dorm rooms. The next day, after the hysteria that was packing for their trips, the entire group stuck together as far as they could. See you after the winter break, Naruto said, giving Ruby a small kiss as they held each other. See you then, Naru, Ruby said, walking off after Yang a few seconds later to the departure ship. Swai gave off a bark at Naruto before trotting off after the two girls. I don't know about this, Roshi muttered as Weiss dragged him along, Han and Fu silently following behind him. I'm not so sure either, but there's no better time than now to do this, Weiss said. Can you at least tell me why you invited my two teammates as well? No offense, guys, but, Roshi said, if things go south, then there's a 90% probability it will. You're going to need backup to escape, Weiss stated casually, causing Roshi to pale slightly. Besides, they've got nowhere else to go, so why not let them join us? Meh, it's true, Fu said. Come on, Ren. We've got no time to waste, Nora exclaimed as she dragged Ren off to their intended bulkhead in a comical manner. Feeling nervous? Pyrrha asked as she held John's hand. A little. I mean, what if they don't like me? John questioned. They'll love you, I'm sure of it, Pyrrha stated, giving her boyfriend a quick peck on the lips. I sure hope so, John said, and with that the group had split apart to their intended destinations. With Ruby, Yang, and Swai, the trip was not too long. The group of two girls and their dog arriving at the island of Patch. Snow covered the land like a blanket, the clouds dark as snow fell, further coating the white lands. Standing a dozen yards away from the bullhead was a tall man, standing at 5'9". The man wore a gray button-up collared shirt, on top of which he wore a worn-down brown leather jacket, a red scarf, and black pants. The man had a 5 o'clock shadow, disheveling dirty blonde hair that had patched off the gray here and there, and purple eyes. Yang, Ruby, the man exclaimed. Dad, the two girls exclaimed, dashing forward and giving the unidentified Taiyang Xiaolong a hug. It's good to see you two again, Taiyang said, Swai giving off a bark seconds after the statement. You too, Swai. Merry Christmas, Dad, Ruby exclaimed. Now come on, let's head back home and have some hot chocolate and cookies, Taiyang said, the group walking off down the snow-ridden pathway with Weiss, Roshi, and Fu. Play sleigh bells. Roshi gulped nervously, holding Wise's hand as he, Wise, Han, and Fu walked down the ship through a path with sneak guards on either side, eyeing him as if he was going to pull something. A dozen yards away stood 3 people and 4 guards. The first person was a woman that stood at 5'7" and had long curly white hair that stopped midway down her back. Pale skin and charcoal black eyes. She wore a white female business suit with the SNE logo on the back. The woman was seemingly grinning as the 4 approached. The person next to her was an intimidating man, sitting at 6 feet, with curly pale blonde hair and ice-cold blue eyes. He wore a black business suit with the SNE logo on the right shoulder, and if one looked closely, they would find the smallest hint of tattoos on the man's arms, stopping shortly before his wrists. And lastly, the third person was a short girl with the pale blonde hair that was done in a braid. She stood at 4'6" and had pale skin, not as pale as the 2 others, but still pale, and bright blue eyes. Weiss! The little girl exclaimed, running up to Weiss and hugging the hunters in training. Elsa, it's nice to see you again. You've grown so much, Weiss said before turning to Roshi, Han, and Fu. Oh, yes, Roshi, Han, Fu. This my little Silsa. This my little sister, Elsa Schnee. The woman is my older sister, Winter Schnee, and the man next to her is my father, Travis Schnee. Guys, this is my boyfriend, Roshi. Cue the guards aiming their rifles at Roshi and his teammates, Han and Fu. It's nice to meet you, Travis, Mr. Schnee, Roshi stammered out, extending his hand to the senior Schnee, only to find familiar red dots primed on his forehead. Travis raised his hands up, causing the weapons aimed at Roshi to be lowered. The rather tall and intimidating man walked up to Roshi, who started feeling the intimidation and began sweating and looked him over before turning him his back and walking away, the 4 guards following shortly after. Well, that went better than expected, Weiss exclaimed cheerfully. It did, Roshi comically yelled. Little sis is right. Most guys usually don't get past the first step off the ship, let alone to the introductions, Winter stated. I don't think any of the other shooters even made it this far, Elsa exclaimed cheerfully before her attention turned to Han. Are you a centaur? She asked innocently. No, Han said bluntly, though behind his mask he was grinning. I'm a horse faunus. Then you are a centaur, Elsa said. No, a centaur has the bottom half of a horse and the top half of a human. A horse faunus is like a human, only with a few horse-like qualities, Han explained. So, do you sometimes eat hay? Elsa asked. Han said nothing, only tilting his head and looking away with a huff of annoyance. He does occasionally, but he wants to keep it on the DL, Fu whispered to Elsa. And what about you? Be you human or faunus? Winter asked Fu. I'm a beetle faunus, Fu replied, sprouting her 6 insect wings and tail and hovering above them. Wow, Elsa exclaimed, sparkles in her eyes as she watched Fu fly around doing barrel rolls and other tricks. Roshi started. I already know about you, Winter interrupted. Dad has been keeping an eye on you ever since your little heist 2 or 3 years back. But how could he know where I was? Roshi questioned. Dad has his ways, Winter said vaguely. But now that you're here, Daddy is going to put you through these test thingies, Elsa exclaimed. Trials? Roshi said questionably, looking at Weiss for answers. Father made it up in his mind that any guy that wants to date me or Winter and eventually Elsa has to pass a series of trials that test your intelligence, strength, conviction, and willpower, Weiss exclaimed. There are 5 trials in total, but no one save for Winter's boyfriend has completed the 5th trial. A beeping sound suddenly came from Roshi's scroll. Shakingly, the monkey faunus pulled the device out and read the message out loud. The trial starts. Now, enter the building, take the second set of stairs to your left, and enter the 5th room on the right, Roshi read, followed by an audible gulp sound. It was nice knowing you, Roshi, Han said, patting his red-haired faunus on the back. Ditto, Fu said, doing the same as well. Stay alive, monkey man, Elsa exclaimed before skipping off. Don't die, Winter said before following after the others. Good luck, Roshi, Weiss said, giving him a peck on the cheek before going after the group. Come on, you got this, Son Goku exclaimed. I can do this, Roshi mentally said to himself, a look of determination coming over his face as he walked into the large mansion, following the instructions sent via scroll, with Ren and Nora. Nora rushed off the ship, Ren following at a slower pace. The sound of music filled the air, and in Ren's case, a certain sense of dread as well. Nora, happy Hanukkah, the older orange-haired man exclaimed. Oh, and you brought little Ren along as well? Season's greetings, Mr. Valkyrie, Ren said. Please, how many times have I told you to call me Nathan? The man said, slinging an arm around Ren. Come on, we've just begun celebrating, Nathan exclaimed, dragging Ren off into the fray. with John and Pyrrha. The moment John and Pyrrha stepped off the ship, the blonde-haired leader of Team Juniper had to duck to avoid a flying mace that somehow had let out a small explosion upon impact. Ah, home sweet home, Pyrrha said, a smile on her face as she spoke. Heads up, grenade at 6 o'clock, she mumbled to John, the latter pulling out Corsair Morse and swatting the explosives away. Commodore, how many times have I told you not to pull out the lethal explosives until after dinner? The woman yelled. Oh, Pyrrha-chan, it's good to see you. And you brought company as well? Mom, this is my boyfriend, John Ark. John, this is my mom, Naomi Nikos. Pyrrha said, nice to meet you, Miss Nikos, John said nervously. Naomi, who's that you're talking to? A man called out. Just Pyrrha's flaky boyfriend. Naomi shouted back. Flaky? John said questionably. Well, you're kind of flaky looking, a new voice exclaimed. A red-haired boy popped out from behind John, causing him to jump slightly. Ah, good, you're alert. Your jump will deduct points, but you still have an 8 out of 10. John, this is my younger brother, Commodore Nikos, Pyrrha stated. Nice to meet you, Flaky, Commodore exclaimed, pulling out a large hammer seemingly out of thin air, a devilish grin on his face. Now start running with Roshi. A tired and weary Roshi leaned against the wall of the hallway. Over the past few hours, the red-haired monkey Faunus had gone through the first 4 trials, exhausting him both physically and mentally. Here, this should probably help, Son Goku said, sending a small surge of chakra through his container, which acted like coffee. Thanks, son, Roshi mentally exclaimed. Suddenly a familiar beeping sound caught his attention. Head down the hallway. The final trial will be waiting for you. Don't worry, you'll know which room it is, Roshi read out loud. With a sigh, he pushed himself off the wall and walked down the hallway. The message was clear, seeing as the last room the hallway was guarded by 2 soldiers. Roshi Yamasaruroku, one of the guards called out. Yes, Roshi said. Mr. Schnee is waiting for you inside, the guard stated. Good luck. And with that, Roshi walked past the guards and into the room, only to find it was bigger than most of the other rooms he was sent into. The room resembled more of a gym with a boxing arena. Travis Schnee stood in the center of the arena. Played the Nutcracker by Aaron. Congratulations on making it this far. Only 5 other people have made it this far, and only 1 has passed this final trial, Travis said. What is this final trial exactly? Roshi asked. In response, Travis took off his shoes, suit jacket, and unbuttoned his shirt, tearing both off to reveal the various tattoos and scars riddled on his body. You have to beat me in a fight, Travis said, getting into a fighting stance. No weapons, no aura, no semblance, no chakra. The only thing we can use is our fists and feet. Is that it? Roshi questioned. Before I took control of the Schnee Dust Company, I was the 3-time kickboxing champion of Vital, Travis stated, and I haven't gotten out of shape at all, so haul your ass up in the ring and prepare for a beatdown. Finally, something I can excel in, Roshi exclaimed, pulling his shirt and shoes off before jumping up into the ring. Bring it on, old man, he said with a grin to which Travis matched with his own. I'm gonna make you eat those words alongside your own teeth, Travis said before rushing at Roshi, to which the monkey Faunus dodged. Roshi then delivered a fury of punches into Travis, but the latter barely reacted. Seconds later, Travis retaliated, punching Roshi square in the gut and sending him flying. Roshi slammed on the ground before rolling up and jumping back at Travis, sending a kick to the elder Snee's face. Travis brought his fist up to block, only to receive a second kick in the chest, causing the pale blonde-haired man to cough up spit and bit of blood. A kick allowed Roshi to go on the offensive, delivering punch after punch and kick after kick to the father of his girlfriend. As Roshi began to let up, Travis used the opportunity to slam his fist into Roshi's face, sending him back to the ground. Give up already. If you surrender now, then I won't beat you up to a bloody pup, Travis said. Roshi got up shakingly, glaring directly into Travis's eyes with a fiery determination in his eyes. No, I'm not going to give up, Roshi exclaimed, rushing Travis with a battle cry and punching him in the gut. As Travis was winded, Roshi delivered an uppercut followed by a left, and then a right hook, and then lastly a final roundhouse kick that sent Travis out of the circle and slamming it into the metal pole in the corner of the arena. Good job, Roshi, Travis huffed out. Thanks, Mr. Schnee, Roshi said in between pants. Please call me Travis, Travis said as he got back up, wincing a little as he did so. Damn, you have a mean roundhouse kick. And that's nothing compared to your punches. I swear if I had eaten any lunch today, I would have probably vomited it, Roshi said with a grin. Does it mean that I have your blessing to date your daughter? Sure does, kid, Travis stated before flopping back down on the ground. Yes, Roshi exclaimed before exhaustion hit him as well, flopping to the ground like Travis. With Naruto. Naruto walked into the empty clearing, the snow-blanketed field sent snow flying with the wind as it blew by. A dozen yards away was a cliffside, and on the cliffside was a familiar tombstone with a rose-like symbol engraved into the stone. This sure is a strange place for the Shinigami to pick, Naruto mumbled to himself. You're telling me, a familiar Buxman Shinigami said, shivering slightly from the cold. But then again, you are the first person in years that's been allowed into the realm of the dead. But he is the capital S Shinigami Rinkiku. The least he could have done is chosen some place, I don't know, warmer. Naruto complained. True. Well, we're here, Rinkiku exclaimed, a strange blue portal appearing out of thin air. Well, where the hell did this come from? Naruto exclaimed. No time for explanations. Let's go, Rangiku yelled, pushing Naruto through the portal. With Ruby, Yang, Swai, and Taiyang, Ruby happily munched on a cookie as Swai ran around in a circle, and Yang and Taiyang walked about the events that happened over the first half of the school year. Taiyang exclaimed, a feeling of dread filling Ruby as she knew what her father was all worked up about. Ruby, you have a boyfriend? Yeah, kinda, sort of. Yes, Ruby said. My baby girl is growing up, Taiyang exclaimed, wrapping Ruby up in a comical bear hug before his attitude pulled the 180. My baby girl is too young to be dating, he said, his eyes turning red as he spoke. Suddenly, he grabbed his leather jacket and rushed out the door. Dad, wait, where are you going? Yang called out. I'm going to have a talk with Ruby's boyfriend, Taiyang exclaimed, rushing out to the site. You don't even know who her boyfriend is or where he is, Yang deadpanned to herself. Taiyang suddenly rushed back to Yang. Do you know where Ruby's boyfriend is? Taiyang asked. I think he said he was going to the northern part of the island, Yang said hesitantly. Seconds later, Taiyang was off to hunt down Ruby's boyfriend with John and Pyrrha. A sigh escaped John's lips as he dragged the unconscious Commodore on his shoulder. He ran out of energy about 5 minutes ago, John stated as he handed the energetic boy over to Naomi. Well, I'll be damned. It usually takes about half an hour more till he runs out of energy. You're all right, kid, Pyrrha's father, Apollo, stated, patting John on the back before following his wife to put a Commodore in his bed. You were really good, John, Pyrrha stated as she leaned on the doorway, a smile on her face as she stared at John. You really think so? John asked. Definitely, Pyrrha said, walking up and giving John a kiss on the lips, to which the blonde-haired boy returned. After half a minute, the kiss broke and the duo stared in their embrace. With Naruto, after the blinding light died down, Naruto found himself eating dirt in an unfamiliar place. After spitting the dirt out, Naruto saw a familiar red-haired woman standing in front of him. He quickly found himself enveloped in a hug. Sochi, the woman said. Mom, Naruto asked. Yep, this woman is Kushina Uzumaki. I recognize the residue chakra left in her from her time as my Jinchuriki, Kurama said from inside the seal. Merry Christmas, Sochai, Kushina said, a tear of joy flowing from her eyes. Naruto tightened the embrace, tears of his own falling down from his eyes. Come on, let's go meet the rest of your family. With Ren and Nora. So there's something I've been meaning to tell you, Mr. Valker, Ren started. Nathan corrected. Nathan, I'm sort of kind of dating your daughter, Ren said quickly. You're dating my daughter? Good for you, Ren, Nathan yelled. Wait, what? Ren exclaimed. I've been waiting for you or Nora to say that for a while. Just don't give me grandbabies too soon, Nathan said, causing Ren to blush. Now come on, we still have a celebration going on. With Taiyang, the widowed father of two girls bonded off through the dead forest, eventually ended up in a familiar clearing with a cliffside altar. My father's senses are telling me this is the spot where I'll find the evil Ruby's boyfriend, Taiyang exclaimed, plopping down into the snow in expectancy. With Naruto, as Kushina guided Naruto through the Soul Society, said blonde-haired Fox Faunus suddenly froze up. What's the matter, Soichai? Kushina asked. I have the strangest feeling that once I exit Soul Society, I'm going to get an incredible headache. Naruto said mechanically before shaking his head. So what do you guys do here in Soul Society or whatever it's called? We usually just guide souls to this place if they aren't able to reach it on their own. Krishna replied, there are some that become corrupted and change into these creatures called hollows, but we usually take care of them if they become a problem. Enough about me. How about you, Sochai? Got a girlfriend yet? As a matter of fact, yes, Naruto stated. Wow, who's the lucky lady? Kushina asked. Her name's Ruby Rose. She's kind and cute, and she has black and red hair, Naruto exclaimed. Red hair? Kushina questioned, ignoring everything else her son said. I approve. With Ruby and Yang, Ruby sat on her knees on a chair, her head comically pecking over a said chair over to the fireplace. Are you seriously doing this, Ruby? Yang asked. I'm going to see Santa once in my life. You got my back, right, Swy? Ruby asked the little corgi beside her, to which Swy barked in agreement. All right then. Don't stay up too late. I'm going to hit the hay early tonight. Yang said. Good night, Ruby, she said before walking away. Good night, Yang, Ruby said, not taking her eyes off the fireplace the entire time. With Naruto, Thursday day Naruto spent with his family. Minato had yet to appear, though that was explained by Kushina. When Minato-kun summoned the Shinigami, he unwittingly signed himself up to be his security. Kushina said. What's so bad about being a Shinigami secretary? Naruto asked. The paperwork, Kushina stated. So, could he just use Kagebunshin to do it for him? And Naruto questioned. Well, because Kushina said, unable to come up with an answer. You know what? I actually never thought about that, Databane. Naruto questioned. I have a verbal tick, Kushina said, blushing in embarrassment. So what? Verbal ticks are awesome, Databayon, Naruto exclaimed. Your time in the realm of the dead is up, child of prophecy, the Shinigami said from inside Naruto's mind. What did you get in here? Kurama comically exclaimed. The Shinigami says that my time is up, Mom, Naruto stated. It was nice seeing you, Sochi. Merry Christmas, Kurama exclaimed, giving her son one last hug and slipping a scroll into his pocket. Hold on, a new voice called out. A familiar tri-pronged kunai soon found itself embedded in the ground beside the mother-son duo, and in a flash of light, Minato Namikaze appeared. Dad, Naruto called out. Sorry I'm late. The paperwork of the Shinigami is terrible, Minato said in between breaths before pulling out a scroll. I have a gift for you. What is it? Naruto asked. There's about 100 Horaishin kunais and the instructions on how to use them, Naruto said. I heard that you managed to pull off a Horaishin ni no Dan, so here's the instructions on how to properly use it. Really? Thanks, Dad, Naruto exclaimed. I've got something for you as well. Really? What is it? Minato asked. The secret to paperwork, Naruto stated, causing Minato to widen eye Kagebunshins. You know the secret to defeating that abomination, Minato questioned, comically shouting at Naruto. Tell me, Kagebunshins, Naruto said cheerfully. At this, Minato froze, certain gears in his head grinding into place. As if magic, Minato curled into a ball on the ground, a dark grainy cloud with miniature lightning appeared over his head as he muttered phrases like Baka, or why didn't I think of that? It's time to go, little Naruto-chan, Rinkuku exclaimed, appearing seemingly out of nowhere. Ran-chan, you're my son's guide through the portal? Kushina questioned. Yep, now let's go, Rinkuku said, kicking Naruto through the portal with Taiyang. The father of Ruby and Yang had not budged at all. Even after being covered in a blanket of snow, his patience was rewarded when Naruto appeared out of nowhere, crashing into the snow. Jeez, why do they have to kick me through the portal? Naruto asked no one in particular. Aha! Taiyang exclaimed, jumping out of the snow and pointing accusingly at Naruto. You're the boy who's dating my daughter? Who are you? Naruto asked. Oh, right, I'm Taiyang Xiaolong, Yang and Ruby's father, Taiyang said, extending his hand to Naruto. Nice to meet you, Mr. Long, Naruto said, shaking Taiyang's hand. Please call me Tai, Taiyang stated. Now, where was I? You were in the middle of accusing me of dating Ruby, Naruto stated. Right, thanks, Taiyang said before resuming his accusating stance. Now, are you or are you not dating my daughter? I'm dating Ruby. I really like her, and I'm pretty sure she likes me too, Naruto said, a small blush on his face. You better treat my daughter good. If I find out you've hurt my daughter in any way, I'll gut you with a rusty spoon. Understand? Taiyang asked. Crystal clear, Naruto said. Good. Now come on, you can join my family for Christmas, Taiyang exclaimed, grabbing Naruto and comically running back home with Naruto flapping around like a flag in the wind. with Ruby and Swy. The sun had set and nightfall had spread across the land. The fire was still roaring. The fire was still roaring in the fireplace, but Ruby was starting to get tired. Swy sparking suddenly caught her attention as the corgis started at the fireplace. "What is it, Swy?" Ruby asked. Suddenly, the sound of rustling and the sight of soot and ash falling down the fireplace got Ruby wide-eyed with sparkles. "Santa! Gah, my ass is on fire!" Diane exclaimed, falling into the fireplace with a thud. A comical look of shock came across Ruby's face. Her eyes widened to comical proportions. A second thud brought Naruto through the fireplace. "Remind me again why we had to take the fireplace to get in?" Naruto questioned. "Because I'm 90% sure that I locked myself out of the house," Diane exclaimed. "You'd be surprised how many times that's happened to me." "Dad, Naruto?" Ruby questioned. "Oh, hi Ruby. Merry Christmas," Naruto exclaimed. "I thought you were spending Christmas with ghosts or something," Ruby questioned. "I was. The Shinigami kicked me out early and Tai here found me," Naruto explained. Suddenly, the chair Ruby was sitting on was tipped over, causing the girl to go flying and land on top of Naruto. A mistletoe attached to a string attached to a stake appeared above the duel, held by Taiyang, who was seemingly grinning as he did so. "Mistletoe," Naruto stated. "Yeah," Ruby said. Cerulean blue eyes met celestial silver ones. "Merry Christmas, Naru." "Merry Christmas, Ruby," Naruto said, the two sharing a Christmas kiss. The rest of the holiday break seemed tame compared to the first few days, and everything was merry and cheerful. So, happy holidays to all. Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, and Happy Kwanzaa. End of chapter 28.